Okay, so let's make an organic mushroom soup. You know, around the holidays you'll start to see, you know, wild mushroom soup at like fancy Christmas parties. So let me show you how to make a really great organic one. The first thing here is these are our mushrooms. We've got an assortment here. We've got some true wild ones like these oyster mushrooms. We've got some chanterelles. These are shiitakes. And then these are, you know, baby bellas or portobellos, and they call those wild mushrooms, but technically those are now cultivated. So there's only a few true wild mushrooms in here. What I did is I took, you know, these caps like this, and you know, you don't have to get too fancy because we're going to puree this soup later. So just give them a little chop, and we're going to use some shallots here. We're just going to put a little mince on these. Watching your fingers. All right, now time to go to the stove and start cooking these. So we'll get our pot turned on a little bit. What we're going to use is some cultured butter. Put that in there. And a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to raise up the smoke point. Get that going. And then over with our shallots, carefully so we don't drop them on the floor. Right in there. This is a really delicious soup. So we just want to get a little sweat on these, and sweating just means to soften without doing a lot of color. Then we're going to throw in there, this is some really fragrant, oh boy, this is thyme, and it comes right out of my own garden, and thyme will grow year round. Even in the winter you can leave it outside, so it's much more affordable to use your own herbs like that instead of going to the store and they charge you, you know, $22 for a little pack of half dried up ones. So grow your own thyme, and as you cook a little more you're going to learn that certain herbs get along with other things, and thyme is a best buddy with mushrooms and meat. So take this whole thing, stems and all, because there's a lot of essential oils and all that awesome aroma in there, and just throw it right in. You're going to extract some flavor from it, and we're going to pick that out later. So now, pretty simple, take our nice wild mushrooms, some of them are cultivated, dump them in there. So now you can see mushrooms are kind of sponge-like, and you put these in here and they're starting to get dry. So a little more extra virgin olive oil to get them sauteing again. You want a pretty good heat under these. We're going to add some black pepper. And I didn't add any salt yet. We're going to add salt, but I want to wait until the mushrooms get a little kind of caramelization on the outside. If you add the salt, it's going to let all the water out, and then you're going to have like steamed mushrooms. So these mushrooms are they're starting to break down a little bit, and I gotta tell you, man, it smells unbelievable in here. These mushrooms with that thyme coming up out of the pot, and they're starting to caramelize a little bit. The smell of this is so unbelievably earthy and just amazing. So now we're gonna take a little of our kosher salt, because the mushrooms have, you know, they've done what they needed to do. Stir that in a little bit, and I'm also gonna attempt to fish out some of the thyme, because it's given its all. So we'll take some of these thyme branches out of there, being careful not to, you know, I can reach in here because I've been doing this for 25 years, but at home you may want to use a pair of tongs. We've got those out of there now. And you can see, I'm going to move and look, and our second cameraman here, Big Handsome Dan, he's going to get a little shot of the brown stuff in the bottom of the pan. You see that brown stuff, Dan? That is little caramelized bits, and that's unbelievable stuff that you want to lift from the pan. And we use a technique called, come on, deglazing it's called. With this, a little bit of high quality sherry wine. Put that in there. You hear it? Now we'll scrub those brown bits up off the pan. That's where all the flavor is. And this wine is going to immediately kind of evaporate. And now we're going to turn off the heat. And I'm going to show you kind of a little trick that's also kind of a safety thing. This is pretty hot, right? We're going to want to puree it in our food processor in a minute, but you don't want to put super hot soup in a blender or food processor because it can blow the top off. So we just turn the heat off. Now we're going to take a little of our stock here, and this is a mushroom stock, and this comes from one of my favorite companies, Pacific brand. And you know, you're making mushroom soup, so instead of adding water, you could add chicken stock, but this mushroom stock that they have is really going to intensify the flavors. And this is cold, so we're going to add this just a little bit like that, and that's going to chill our soup down, which is going to be handy, and I'll show you why. Okay, I put maybe 2 cups of that in there, and now we're going to take our whole bowl and start feeding it to our food processor. All right, so now we're going to blend this soup, or actually not blend it, we're going to put it in our Cuisinart. And the pot is hotter than the soup at this point. Right in there, making sure that any of these stray mushroom guys that are trying to live get put in there. Okay, then this we'll put back over on the stove. And if you can see in there, you can see a really dark kind of earthy mushroom color, which is just what we want. Now we'll take the lid and we'll take this for a little pulse. Okay, now we know it's not going to expand out. We can just turn it on. So that little trick of adding the kind of cold mushroom broth in there was really good, because you don't want to be battling with a boiling soup in here and getting it all over, because it can be dangerous. So now we've kind of cooled it back down. We're going to disconnect it and come right back over here to our pot. Okay, now before we dump this in here, I don't want the blade getting in there, so I will take my little finger and I'll reach underneath there and secure the blade. That way it doesn't fall into the soup. Then we'll just do a little dumperoo in there, and we'll grab our spoon because we want to get all that stuff that we worked so hard to make. I could really use a rubber spatula, and now we're going to cream this soup out with a little of our beautiful organic heavy cream that comes from Organic Valley. And just stir a little of that through. Not much, just a little bit. We don't want it, overly rich. And then we're also going to add a little more of our Pacific brand mushroom stock, because it's just a little too thick. So we'll set that aside. Now this is really cooked. All it needs to do is come up to a quick boil, and then you can serve this to your Christmas time guests, or really it's a great soup in the fall and in the spring, particularly if you go out and harvest your own mushrooms. So that's what I would suggest you give a try. A little more cream in here. Okay, now that is looking like a first-class soup. Our soup is done and looking very nice. So to serve it, what we're going to do is take our little serving bowl, and we want to just chop up a little chives. And these, like you've heard me a million times, they came right out of my own garden. You should grow your own herbs whenever you can. And I love chives. They're just a super garnish for all kinds of foods, but particularly a soup like this, because chives really like the cooler weather. Okay, so we're going to take a nice ladle, and it smells really nice. So we'll put that in there, just one ladle full. One of the finishing touches is a little drizzle of extra virgin olive oil on top. Some chives. Of course, you could put a dollop of sour cream or creme fraiche, but it already has heavy cream in it, so I don't think you need it. There you have a gorgeous Christmas time or fall or winter mushroom soup. Give that one a try.
To see more tips, techniques, and videos, visit harvesteating.com. 4 seasons, one lifestyle.